We are all right and we are live. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Media's Live Show, episode 9. Uh, as you can see in the title, I finally made the time to finish MHA Vigilantes. I talked about this a few weeks ago. I had caught up and then didn't watch another episode after like episode 7. Well, I watched the last 3 episodes this week, and we'll be talking about that later. That is the main article for today because I have a lot to talk about. So let's actually do a quick rundown of what I've been doing this week. The main thing I've been doing as far as my free time goes is I've been picking up art. I got a drawing pad last week. I got it last Thursday. And I've been doing a little bit of practice here and there. I will show you some of my pieces later on in the stream. But right now, let's do the usual rundown of what I've watched. Because there's not really much of note on that front. Let me actually make sure that everyone knows that I am live. Yeah, it's from high power to 24 hours late. All right. So that should all be taken care of. So, I don't have images for this, but briefly talking about One Piece, we got some more Rocksteady Beck lore. He knew about Emu, which is surprising. Uh, he has to have had either Law's Opie Opie no Mi or Van Augur's Warp Fruit. He had to have had one of those two Devil Fruit abilities. And maybe he had two Devil Fruit abilities. Maybe that is something unique to Rox and his descendant, Blackbeard. Uh, I don't know. I still think Blackbeard is unique. Like, I don't think Rox had two Devil Fruits. I think there's something going on with Blackbeard specifically that isn't related to Rox, because I think if Rox had two Devil Fruits, more people would have known about it, and less people, specifically Garp, would have been surprised about Blackbeard. Like Garp and Sengoku would have been like, alongside Marco, they would have been like, yeah, I guess his body's weird. There would be precedent for having two Devil Fruits if Rox had two Devil Fruits, unless the world government completely wiped it from all the records, and everybody who knew Rox who was at Marineford just didn't acknowledge it, which is not impossible. But I think that would rob Blackbeard of some of his unique quality. Uh, in the same way that like I'm 100% of the opinion that Luffy is on his way to surpassing Roger. Luffy will succeed where Roger and tons of people before him, including Joy Boy himself, failed. He's going to be the one to take down Emu. Uh, other little bits. For whatever reason, this caused another schism of like Shanks versus Mihawk fans, and I hate that whole power scaling debate because I'm on the record of not giving a shit about power scaling, for real. Uh, and the way people use power scaling to try to like win arguments is just so fundamentally flawed. Like, we have never seen Mihawk go all out. We've never seen Shanks go all out. We only know lore wise of, well, I guess like 3 one-on-one fights that Shanks has had. We know he one shot Kid. We know that he defeated Loki. And we know that he fought Mihawk. And he lost against Mihawk. Like that is canon. And the whole like idea of Mihawk being a fraud or Mihawk being weak or weaker than Shanks, just it robs Zoro of his narrative purpose. I have some other opinions on that. Like Mihawk is the world's strongest swordsman, so if they're like human, blah 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 blah, would just as an example, Ethan Baron v Nasajuro count as human because he sees himself as a god. So would he even be? Would he even qualify for the title of world's strongest swordsman? So like I could see that being an argument for like Nasajuro being stronger than Mihawk, and so like Zoro defeats Mihawk and then moves on to Nasajuro. And I could also see that same argument being applied to Garling, who uses a sword and is in very similar position as Nasajuro. Uh, for the Holy Knights and the Yonko, they're not on the same level as just influence wise. They're not on the same level as the Gorosei, let alone Emu. Uh, So I think for narrative purposes, Mihawk has to be the stronger swordsman. And like I said, like we've never seen him use a named attack. We've never seen him take a fight seriously. There's so many interesting things about Mihawk. I need to do this as a main article one day. Like compile my thoughts, script some stuff out. Because the way Oda uses Mihawk is so smart that most people who read One Piece don't even realize it. And it all goes back to the scene in Marineford where he throws that slash at Whitebeard. Mihawk is the loneliest man on the seas. He is the most powerful pirate who doesn't have a crew. He is part of a crew now with Cross Guild, but that is a recent development. And I think he has almost this religious reverence for like the one-on-one duel, and he knows like the reason why he never fights Shanks isn't because he thinks he'll lose. There's two reasons why he won't fight or three reasons. There's three reasons why he won't fight Shanks. One, he likes Shanks. They're buddies. Two, he's got nothing to gain from fighting Shanks. There's no reason for him to fight Shanks. There's no reason for him to flex. There's no reason, like he's not insecure about his title. He's not out. He doesn't have a chip on his shoulder. He doesn't have anything to prove because he already beat Shanks once, probably more than once. And three, and the reason that kind of gets highlighted in Marineford, Shanks' crew would never let that happen. Mihawk would never, ever get the opportunity to fight Shanks one-on-one ever again because he's an emperor and he has all these allies and all these crewmates. Do you think Diamond Jozu was worried about Whitebeard dying to Mihawk's attack? No. Whitebeard could have blocked it just fine himself. Whitebeard is several classes above Jozu. But that doesn't matter. Whitebeard's the captain. Jozu's the subordinate. He jumps in when he is the tank of the crew. He is the one who jumps in front of cannonballs and everything to protect Whitebeard and the Moby Dick and the other Whitebeard pirates. That is Jozu's role. The second that Jozu jumped in front of Mihawk's slash and bounced it back up into the air, Mihawk gave up. Because he knew he would never, ever get the chance to fight Whitebeard one-on-one. It was a war. There was no honor in it, and Whitebeard's crew would just never allow it. Whitebeard's crew is too loyal, and that's why he takes an interest in Luffy and Zoro and singles Zoro out as the person he wants to surpass him. There's other talented swordsmen out there. Shanks is one of them. Shanks is the closest thing Mihawk has to a rival. Still. But Luffy stayed on the sidelines. Luffy let Zoro and Mihawk have their duel, even though Zoro was so cartoonishly outclassed. That's why Mihawk takes a liking to both of them. They respect the sanctity of the duel. And as far as Rocks goes, as a swordsman, he's a swordsman. Doesn't necessarily mean he's stronger than Mihawk or Mihawk stronger than him. It was a different era. Mihawk is the world's strongest swordsman right now. There were swordsmen before Mihawk who had that title. And that's the thing about titles like that is there's always that. There's always going to be a world's strongest swordsman. Take it in today's term. There's always going to be a best pitcher in the major leagues. There's always going to be a greatest basketball player alive. There's always going to be greatest quarterback alive. But the in a better era, like thinking like baseball pitchers, the best pitcher alive today, who I haven't been following baseball closely for a couple of years. Last I checked was like Clayton Kershaw. Uh, he would not even be in the top five best pitchers in the early 2000s when he had Randy Johnson and Pedro Martinez and uh, Roger Clemens. There were a lot of good pitchers back in the early 2000s compared to now. Um, Sluggers are another thing. You don't really see a whole lot of people in baseball hitting 50, 60, 70 home runs a season. Mostly because they were on steroids when they were doing that. But now it's like 30's good. But like that means we're not in a hitter's era. Because back in the 60s, 70s, and 80s, before the whole steroids thing, there were tons of people hitting 30 and 40 home runs a season. The basketball is probably a better example because the way basketball is, you could really build a team around a single player. Um, LeBron James is the best basketball player on the court today. Whether he's better than Michael Jordan or Kobe Bryant, that's up for debate. Like, you can look at the numbers and see who's better than who, but like, the numbers don't tell everything because competition matters too. Michael Jordan had weaker competition than Kobe Bryant or LeBron James because after Michael Jordan came onto the scene, he changed the way basketball was played. He changed the way that people trained in basketball and practiced in basketball. And suddenly, every team's got a Michael Jordan. Not necessarily a Michael Jordan class person or a class athlete, but like relatively close, especially compared to the late 80s, early 90s when Michael Jordan was at the height of his powers. Uh, and so you got something similar going on with One Piece, where like Mihawk being the greatest swordsman of the Great Pirate era says a lot, but it doesn't mean he's the greatest swordsman of all time. In fact, if you throw him in, say, Joy Boy's era, he might not even be top 10. If you throw him in Rock's era, he might not even be top 5. But he's the number one right now. And so it kind of determined, like, is it a weaker era now? Is it a stronger era now? I'm of the opinion that the Great Pirate era, between, like, Roger's execution and Whitebeard's death, is, like, the strongest overall that piratism has been. And post series, as Luffy and Blackbeard especially like get stronger and reach that pinnacle level, their era will be stronger than the previous era. Like Zoro will surpass Rayleigh and Mihawk and Shanks. Luffy will surpass all the Yonko and Whitebeard and Roger. Sanji will surpass the admirals. Um, so that's kind of the future of One Piece. Uh, I was not planning on spending 10 plus minutes on that, But yeah, the Rock's lore is the only thing of interest I want to talk about from this most recent chapter. Let's jump into, I don't know what I have first. Rascal. Uh, Rascal Does Not Dream of Santa Claus, episode 3. This is the conclusion of Rascal Does Not Dream of I think it's Vanishing Singer. It was alright. I like how when Uzuki loses her voice, Nanoka blames herself. Like that's just an angsty thing. Uh like I dig the whole, maybe it's because I blamed myself for a lot of things that are out of my control, or been blamed for things that I wasn't even responsible for. But like I relate to that. Like that's just I think an easy layup writing wise. But we got our first real look at the titular Santa Claus girl, and she seems to at least claim to be responsible for the puberty syndrome stuff. Which means that like the show has a villain? Question mark. Okay. I guess we're doing this now. Um, the main thing I like about Rascal is actually similar to the main thing I liked about Sword Art Online and a couple of these other shows. I like how Sakata gets along with the female characters and is still kind of like a rascal. Uh, but he never like compromises his relationship with Mai. That is worthy of my respect, if nothing else. And I said this in my Valentine's Day special that like when you literally wish a girl back into existence, you kind of get a free pass on some things. Um, I wish that, would it kill Rascal to have a guy go through puberty syndrome? Because Sakato's the only one, the only guy in the entire cast who has experienced puberty syndrome, and that does create this kind of like air or this mask of, oh, this is basically harem power fantasy, because there's no guys or bro ships involved. It's just Sakata and all these incredibly beautiful women who have all these anxieties that who come into his life, and he saves from their own supernaturally powered hangups. Is like, I can see how that can get grating, and it actually did get grating. The movie with his sister, I think it was the second movie, where which is when I started kind of falling off of Rascal. I did not like the second or third movie, um, very much. Which was I think a sister going out and Knapsack Kid. I really didn't like Knapsack Kid. That was the one where Sakata jumps worlds and experiences what could have been. Next on the docket, let me see here. Ooh, this is a spicy one. No, I will not be your lover. ... Unless episode 3, consent matters. Good lesson, for any romance, really. I like it when romances kind of acknowledge how horny teenagers are. It's not super realistic for teenagers who have strong feelings for each other to resist those urges for any serious period of time. And especially when you have a character like I think her name's Mai too. That's gonna get confusing. Talk about this right after Rascal. Um, she has no filter. She is spoiled. She is not used to being told no. The fact that like main girl are I need to remember these characters' names. Give me just a sec. What's the? There's no freaking way I'll be your lover unless Renako. Yeah. Renako. The fact that Renako isn't like just throwing herself at Mai is just something she's not really prepared for. Like she's not prepared for Renako's um, resistance. Uh, and this episode really highlights like a jealousy side of Mai, a possessive side of Mai, and a side of Mai that like almost doesn't care that Renako is trying to put up these boundaries. Because that's what Renako's been doing the whole series so far is putting up these boundaries. Hey, you need to like put your hair up to be friends, put your hair down to be lovers. We're gonna go back and forth on that, and you need to like be consistent in going back and forth on that. And you can't like touch me here. You can't do this in front of my sister. You can't do this in front of our friends. Yada 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 yada. And Mai just keeps pushing those boundaries, and she got slapped for it this episode, which I think is really good to happen. Um, this is one of those things that like it's not intuitive. Like it's not an intuitive natural thing for people, especially teenagers, to like really get a grasp on. And I know like just from word of mouth or through the grapevine that Japan has a serious problem about that. Like serious, Japan has a very serious assault problem and consent problem, and so I think this is a really valuable lesson. It's one of those things that like it needs to be addressed in pretty much every romance. Like if you're going to have any kind of romance aspect in your story, you need to do something about addressing the consent of it. Otherwise, it comes off as creepy and weird and possessive. And thankfully, this show handled it really well. I was actually kind of surprised that Renako slapped Mai and ran out of the room, and it was right at the end of the episode, so I don't know how that's gonna play out. Hopefully she doesn't forgive Mai without a serious apology and without Mai like really thinking about this and taking it seriously. Renako's taking this super seriously. Mai's not. Mai's just like, oh, I really fancy you, and so I want to like do all this stuff to you and kiss you and have sex with you and yada yada yada. And I don't really care what's going on or what anyone else thinks. Like, you should care because Renako cares. Um, and it's going to be a much healthier relationship. Like, hopefully, this turns into a much healthier relationship. Like, oh, I've been really impressed with how good this show is because it is such a trash premise. It's like I'm surprised it's not funnier because the whole reason why I watched it is because that title, man, that's a hilarious title. This is a hilarious premise, and the side characters are pretty funny. We got a little bit more of them, particularly Ajisai. In this episode, I'm literally looking at the name. I did not remember her name. I'm literally just looking at the list of character names. Um, yeah, Ajisai. A little bit of a what I'm scrolling down. Satsuki. We got a little bit more Satsuki and her rivalry with Mai. That might turn into a romantic rivalry later on. I don't know. The opening seems to suggest that this is going to end up being a Yuri harem. I mean, I haven't seen a whole lot of Yuri harem, so like it's novel for me, but I know it's not like super novel for the genre. I mean, neither is monogamy at the end of the day. Like, you know. most shows end up becoming monogamous as they go on, uh, unless they just completely refuse to commit to the bit, like We Never Learn, or the Amagame sisters one. I'm pretty sure that manga's ending, and I heard that like, oh, it's so much better than Quince because he actually got the harem ending. Like, the fact that he gets the harem ending makes it worse than Quince. I'm sorry. I'm sorry that I have to be the one to say that. Uh, it is Amagame. Like, I've seen Amagame. I watched that 2 seasons ago. Um, it is it is not better than Quince by any metric. It's got some neat ideas, got some cool characters, but it never across its 24 episode runtime, it did not engage me nearly as much as anything from even the first 3 episodes of Quince. Uh, so yeah, looking forward to episode 4. Episode 4 is going to be a make or break point for this series because if they screw this up, I'm probably going to drop it and pick something else up instead. Because the whole like consent thing and the whole like talking things out and learning to be mature, not just being mature and doing the mature thing, but like learning that lesson and earning that wisdom is such an important thing for me and something that I value not just as a consumer of media but also as a writer. That this is going to be a make or break episode for me, and will determine whether or not I end up actually giving the show a positive review when it's over. Last thing I watched this week, of course, Don It On season 2 episode 3. This episode kicked ass. Not a whole lot happened. It was mostly just Okarun versus Evil Eye Gigi. But it was such a good fight, and Momo being a little creative, it was a little ridiculous that the Dune worm died after like just a few seconds of being exposed to sunlight. I thought that was just it would be overly convenient if it's a really big if this was the end of the arc. But it looks like it just made things worse, which is really funny and really cool. And I hope it doesn't turn into the Kitos getting any kind of redemption because they are just horrible people overall. But it's asking big questions like, oh, is the safety of this entire town worth a couple lives? Like, where do the balances fall? Especially when you have actual legit supernatural forces at play. Like, this isn't just a volcanic eruption. Like, oh, just evacuate the town, let it happen, move back in, problem solved. It's a little more complicated than that, and Evil IGG is making it even more complicated by just dogging Okarun all the way up until the end when he makes the mistake of getting up close with Okarun, trapped in that grudge house, and Okarun just beats his ass. I like the friendship that it highlights because it helps flesh Okarun out a lot more. It shows that like it's not just Momo. It's not just a crush on Momo. Like, Momo was the first, but like this is just something that Okarun values, and he values that in Gigi as well. Like he says, like you polluted my friend. I think polluted is the word that the English dub uses. Like, you took this good dude who is nice to me and nice to everyone who wouldn't ever harm a fly, and you made him hit Momo. And I am going to free him, give him back. Like, big Okarun W. Can't wait to see how this arc plays out. I think this next episode is the finale of this arc. I know this arc isn't going to go on for much longer because based on the trailers and stuff, there's just going to be a lot more going on. They are going to be going back to school. Iris coming back. We have the two new characters in the opening who have yet to make an appearance, as well as the band that's in the opening. Gonna find out what their deal is. So I'm expecting this arc to wrap up next episode. And like I said during my kind of preview stream for the season, I've heard a lot of good things about this arc, and it hasn't been a letdown. I don't know if it's the best stretch of episodes of Don to Don. The Acro Silky stuff was pretty top notch as well from season one. But it solves a lot of my main issues with Don to Don. It definitely solves my problem with Gigi. Or not necessarily solved, but the fact that he's kind of like the victim and possessed is definitely something I'm appreciating compared to his usual attitude. Yeah. So that's all as far as my watch list goes. I do have one other thing I want to briefly talk about. I also don't have an image for this. I will not be watching the new Superman movie. If I do, like, it'll have to be circumstantial. I was on the fence about it for a while. I waited for it to come out. I waited for reviews to come in and for word of mouth to spread. And I was spoiled on something that makes me not ever want to watch it. Making the Kryptonians evil is not interesting. It is the opposite of interesting. It is interest killing for me. Because it does a couple just net negative things. Like, there is no upside to making the Kryptonians evil. There's no upside. There's just all downsides. All of it. All of it's a downside. First, it makes Superman feel guilty, or like Superman's supposed to feel guilty because of his Kryptonian heritage. Fuck that noise. He uses his powers for good. Nothing his family or descendant or ancestors did should change that. Like, he is a force of absolute good within the DC universe, and he should remain that. It just muddies the waters too much. Second is all the Kryptonian supervillains that are evil, like Zod. They're no longer interesting. Zod is no longer this cool, unique person within Superman lore. This dark, militaristic version of Superman who just wanted to go out and conquer the galaxy. Now he's just another Kryptonian. He is just Kryptonian number 21487. The third thing it does, it makes Supergirl look retarded. Supergirl's in the movie. I've seen the clip. She looks incredible, by the way. Kara Zor-El is supposed to be like a darker Superman, like still a good person, still a superhero, but someone who has like anger issues and basically Superman with perpetual PMS. That is the core crux of post-crisis Supergirl's characterization. And what makes her like such a powerhouse and what makes that so dangerous is the fact that like she is better at metabolizing sunlight than Superman. Superman is able to like store it a lot more, and so he's able to like kind of pull out that one little bit of extra strength or one little bit of extra speed to save the day against all impossible odds. Kara can't really do that, but Kara Zor-El, Supergirl, she can hit harder and fly faster than Superman on a normal day. Like, that's kind of where she usually stacks up in the DC pantheon. But she's also someone who remembers Krypton, who as a teenager got like frozen or put in stasis, depending on who's writing, or time displaced, depending on who's writing. So even though she's like physically younger than Superman, like Superman's in his mid-20s, Supergirl's still a teenager. She's actually like 16 years older than Superman. She was born 16 years before Clark, or Kal-El. It's Clark. I always call him Clark. and so that gives her a different attitude. And so she would know more about Krypton than Superman. Like that, there should be some communication there, and that lack of communication, like the fact that this comes as a shock to Superman, is just whatever. Uh, the other thing is that I don't know how many points I've made or which point I'm on. Um, it's just ripping off Dragon Ball. Like I don't understand why so many of these Superman adjacent stories are so focused on just making evil Superman, because it's not interesting. It's done to death. And I hated it with My Adventures with Superman. It was the whole reason why I ended up dropping that show. And it's the reason why I'm not going to watch the James Gunn Superman movie. Like, I'm just not interested in watching another rehash of Invincible. I I've actually come around the band of liking Invincible. I didn't like it at first, but it grew on me. Um, I don't need to see that again. Like there needs to be contrast. Like Superman, like the whole evil Saiyan slash Viltrumite angle is the cliche now. That's the cliche. Jor-El being a legitimately cool dude and great scientist who saves a son from a doomed planet is unique. And James Gunn decided to rob Superman of that unique quality by doing what he did. So I don't know about like how well it's executed. The Superman might still be a good movie. I might still end up enjoying it more than not, but I'm not going to pay money to see it because I put my money where my mouth is at. I support the kinds of stories I want to see made. I support the kind of shows that I want to see more of. I support the kind of games that I want to see more of. I do not want to see more Superman where Kryptonians are evil. I don't want to see it, so I'm not spending money on it. Uh, but speaking of putting my money where my mouth is at, let's talk about my art. Uh, just a quick rundown. Should I pull up my main image or should I start showing you what I was working on? So this is the first picture I tried drawing with my new tablet. It's supposed to be Eliza from my books, and it's I used a picture from Ruby Ice Queendom as reference. I'm not good at any of this, and I will be the first to admit it. I'm not good at drawing good lines. I can't draw a straight line to save my life. I can literally take a pencil and paper and ruler and like move just a little bit at a time, and that line would still end up crooked and all over the place. Um, I can't draw circles to save my life. I can't draw to scale to save my life. Which is why I actually chose this angle because it means I only had to draw one eye. Like I can draw an eye. Like I've actually been drawn eyes before, but if I try drawing an eye and then try drawing the other eye, they're gonna end up being two different sizes. Um, I kind of want to. You know what? I'm actually going to. I'm going to do it. I'm going to show you a little bit of what I'm talking about here. So this is GIMP. This is software I've been using. This is the same software I used to edit images back when I would edit images a lot more. I actually haven't edited an image in a hot minute, but I'm going to write my name, my real name. It's no secret that my actual name is Evan. Lines all over the wibbly. There's no actual consistent line. This is me trying to draw a line. I have a straight edge here, placing on the mouse pad on the drawing pad. Now I'm going to try drawing a straight line. See how it got like flayed at the top? I can't draw a straight line. I'm gonna write my name again, doing as close to the same motions as I did before. It looks completely different. This side is now shorter than this side. This is lower than this. This is actually sitting above this line, whereas this is sitting not even at the top. This curls down a lot more. This is a lot sharper. This is actually connected and extends longer and is a lot more curved, whereas this is like a slanted L. This is wider than this. Like, I can't draw consistently to save my life. So even though I can draw, I don't like how my mouse pad sometimes does this. Like, I could draw a decent eye, but if I try drawing the other eye, see, I already messed up. So this is not even trying now. So this is a real big struggle for me. But it's something I want to do because I want to just have more stuff of my characters without paying $200 a pop for the art pieces. Okay. Were you even able to see that? Yeah. Yeah, you guys were. Okay. Sorry. It looked like just a blank screen on my end for a minute there. So yeah, I have to use reference, and I even have to like I've even gone as far as to trace some basic lines just to give myself barriers to work with. Otherwise, like this would be all over the place. Like this would be all over here, and I would not have been able to maintain a scale if I didn't have an image pulled up that was kind of like following. I actually like the way this turned out. I think this is the second one I did, and it turned out a lot worse. I couldn't get the face right. A lot of this was limitations of GIMP, because I was already using like the thinnest brush I have available to like do a lot of the outlining and stuff. This is based on a picture of Carly Rae Jepsen, and it's supposed to be Rachel, also from my books. I gave her really baggy clothes because I was not ready to do any kind of like anatomy work. I also very strategically put hands in her pockets so I didn't have to worry about that. Uh, it's just a super flat drawing. Like there's no actual like depth to it. And the reason why I'm coloring with flat colors, just using the fill tool, just to try to like show the detail, because again, like I'm already using the thinnest brush for the thickest lines, and so I can't get that like shading or attention to any kind of detail. Um, but then I think this one is the one that turned out the best. The all the images I've made are of my characters from Agents of Nightwatch. This is Morgan. I actually really like the way this turned out. It actually reminds me of a Death from Sandman, which is not a comparison I ever thought about with Morgan, but it actually works. I used a real life image on this as well, uh, as reference. And I even posted this one on Twitter. It's like I just have a much firmer idea of like Morgan's visual identity of like this estranged goth princess who likes to read and does like fancy things, but also likes practical things. Is torn between the two. Like this outfit of hers, it's actually supposed to be a backless dress. So that white part where her shoulder is, like that's actually her exposed back, and you could also, yeah, it's just a bust, so it didn't have to worry about her armor or anything. Um, but I emphasize like the bags under her eyes, the darker outlines on the underside of her eyes because of her insomnia. The nose looks kind of ballooned, but I have no idea how to draw noses like even conceptually, because every time I try to do it, it just never looks right. Uh, and this last image I was working on last night is actually a good example. This is supposed to be Oliver. I actually really like how the hair turned out on this one. Um, I used a picture from the Hardy Boys uh, adaptation that came out a couple years ago as reference. But I think the nose is sitting a little too high up. I did just a really simple line, just a little boop. Uh, but this is another one where you can kind of see like a lot of my problems with scale. Like the eyes are a little wobbly. The mouth is very wobbly. Like it's sharp on one end and curvy on the other end. Um, but yeah, I've been spending about an hour a day working on art. Uh, trying to get some anatomy practice in, uh, because I don't want to just do basic poses. I want to do I want my characters to feel alive when I draw them, because I care about them that much. Without further ado, let's get on to the main article. We're going to spend the rest of the stream talking about MHA Vigilantes. I really like this show. It's one that I had a hard time binging it, and I had a really hard time watching it week to week because not a whole lot happened each episode, and there wasn't a whole lot of momentum. Like, oh man, I gotta see what happens next. Um, the story and characters just aren't as good as MHA, but it is very much set in the same world, and the characters are still good, and the story is still decent enough. I really like how a lot of what I like about Vigilantes are things that I already liked about MHA, like the world building, the way that hero culture is incorporated, the fandomness of it all, which is even more prevalent in Vigilantes than it is in the show proper, because I feel like in MHA it kind of paid a lot of lip service to it. Like, yeah, you'd see merchandise of All Might and Endeavor and trading cards of heroes and posters and stuff like that. But none of the actual characters involved really cared all that much. Like, we know All Might was in it for the good reasons. Endeavor didn't care. Uh, Genus didn't care. Hawks didn't really care. But, like, Captain Celebrity cares a lot. He cares too much. Like, Stain would hate him so much worse than anyone else in the series. I like how Vigilantes is it very much exists in the same world as MHA stylistically, but you can tell that a different person is behind the wheel. You got a different hand on the pin here. Use a lot more thicker lines. It uses a lot more I would say like 80s comic book style choices, whereas MHA aspects of it felt very Silver Age, but other aspects of it felt very 90s and very like early 2000s. Like Stain, for instance, Stain was basically an Image Comics character. Like he would fit right in at home with like Spawn and Hellboy and I know Hellboy's not Image, but you get what I'm talking about. Young Bloods. He'd fit right at home with any Todd McFarlane or Eric Larson or uh, Rob Liefeld creation. Whereas MHA Vigilantes, it reminds me more of early Todd McFarlane, like Black Suit Spider-Man stuff, as well as stuff from like Frank Miller and I know JMD Mateus doesn't do his own art. I'm trying to think of who does. Who did the art for JMD Mateus? Fuck. John Romita Senior or John Romita Jr. Like his there's a little bit of that in there. But it feels like it would be right at home with 80s Marvel with like the Mark Gruenwald Captain America stuff or Frank Miller Daredevil or Chris Claremont's X-Men, which Chris Claremont's X-Men is already massive inspiration for MHA. Uh, the tackling of social issues therein. And this goes a little harder on the social issues. It's not just like cycle of violence stuff that you see in a lot of other shonen, including MHA. There's drugs in this. Like it's a drug epidemic. Now it's a very superhero type drug epidemic. It's much more Stan Lee doing a drug PSA in Spider-Man than it is Denny O'Neil having Speedy hooked on heroin in the Green Lantern Green Arrow series. Like it's much more Stan Lee than Denny O'Neil. Um, I like the fact that like Koichi is older than the MHA cast, that he's college age. I think I mentioned this before. I don't really like how Pop Step is in high school. It doesn't really serve I mean, it serves a purpose for her backstory being a much younger girl than Koichi and developing this like one-sided crush on him because he saved her when he was like heading into high school and she was in elementary and he missed out on his chance to enter UA because he was busy saving her. I liked that aspect of the age gap, but I feel like just make Koichi just a little bit older and make Popstep a fresh high school graduate. Like make Popstep 18 and make Koichi 25 and you solve that issue without changing any of the dynamic or any of the character interactions therein. In fact, it would also make Koichi's relationship with the other girl, Monako, I think is her name. Because she looks like she's in her late 20s, early 30s. I know she's not, but she's drawn much more mature. Uh, Either way, Koichi's gonna end up with in an age gap romance. uh, he's like right in between those two in age. I like how Knuckle Duster is just freaking unhinged, but like smart. Like I almost question like how much of it is an act to like throw other people off their game, and how much of it is him being legit insane. Uh, the villain ended up being interesting. I like that again. Just adding personal stakes that it was this parasitic organism that was possessing Knuckle Duster's daughter, and that's why he felt like personally invested and did this. I don't know where it's really going. I do know from something someone said before this came out that like I think it was actually as season 6 of MHA was coming out. I remember hearing someone talk about this that like Knuckle Duster was a professional hero who got his quirk stolen by All for One, and was basically stripped of his title and license because of it, and now he's a vigilante because he still has work to do. Uh, like I think that's his backstory. I don't know. I haven't read the manga, so I don't know how accurate that is. That is just based on something I heard someone say several years ago. At this point, uh, got a new villain. He flashes around lightning. Don't know what his deal is. Uh, yeah. Every time I watched Vigilantes, I had a good time, and it made me question, like, man, why wasn't I watching this week to week? Why didn't I binge this a lot quicker? Why did it take me, a month to get around to watching the last stretch of it? I don't have any answers for that. Other than the answer that I already gave, which is just it's just not really bingeable. Uh, but again, like I like seeing another side of the MHA world. I like seeing more of the cast and more things that help flesh out the world. No, I like how Captain Celebrity, who was a big shot hero in America, who went to Japan to avoid lawsuits. That's just hilarious. Uh, got a little bit of Ida, Ida, the elder. I know his superhero name's Ingenium. Trying to remember what his first name is because you got Tinya Ida is the main character or major character from MHA. Tensei or Tensa Ida, Tensei Ida. That sounds right. I like seeing him. I like that he is just kind of a good dude, but also like very clearly is turning a blind eye to Koichi's vigilantism, and is also seemingly on board with Captain Celebrity being kind of scummy. Um, I really liked the first few episodes where Koichi was just the nice guy, just cleaning up his community, just a good citizen who picks up trash and helps old ladies cross the road. Uh, I don't like how flippant he is with this secret identity. I know that like MHA is a world where secret identities aren't really a thing, but it should be, especially like when it comes to like the unlicensed heroes, because of the like very thin line between vigilantes and villains within the My Hero Academia universe, which we already saw with Stain and with Gentle. Uh, and with the whole like suicide, like it, man, that's an idea. Too bad Stain died. Um, against All for One. Spoiler, I guess, for season 8. The manga ended a year ago, though. Because I would love to see, like, a Suicide Squad esque team up with, you'd have Lady Nagant, Gentle, Labrava, Stain, and then, like, fucking throw in Knuckle Duster in there. Throw in Knuckle Duster and Koichi. Uh, and the pop step if she wants to tag along. Like, give deputize some of these reformed villains and team them up with the vigilantes to take down like a terrorist group or something, or a drug cartel, or there's ideas. Like there's so much like creative potential for the My Hero Academia universe. I would like to see maybe a spinoff set in America. Have it take place before Stars and Stripes got 86th. Have her be like maybe not the main character, but like a an All Might type figure within the world. Um, America's a much larger country than Japan, so you would have to really like hammer out the regional thing and be like, yeah, these are all like we're setting it in New York, and these are all New York heroes, and the top rated hero in New York could be like the top rated hero in the country, but like it's a big country. There's a lot of other people that they just don't even interact with. Whereas like a lot of times in MHA, it felt like all the top rate heroes came from like the same three age groups. Like you had class 1A, or you had the UA class of the main series, spread out across both classes because Monoma is an extremely important character for the final arc. But then you had like Best Genus and Ed Shot were part of the same group. Um, Shigaraki, Dabi, and Hawks are all around the same age. And then you have I think Midnight is same age as like Eraserhead and Present Mike, and that they were all maybe classmates together. Uh, like there doesn't seem to be as much of a scale as far as that goes. Like everything is a little too tidy, a little too connected. Makes the world feel a little more artificial. Like, and that's a nitpick because MHA is one of the best put together worlds in all of manga, in my opinion. But yeah, just give a lot more diversity within the age ranges and experiences of the characters. Pick a different setting outside of Japan and go wild with it. Especially since MHA is ending this year. The anime is ending this year. Vigilantes, I don't know exactly how long the manga went on, but I can't imagine that it's gonna go more than 2 or 3 seasons. Season 2 is already confirmed. That's good. Uh, but it might be just 3 seasons and then done. And the MHA license is little too ripe for exploitation to just let that be it. Um, I know I'm like using a monkey's paw here because there's a very good chance that if they do another MHA spinoff with a different setting, very good chance that it ends up garbage. Uh, but that is a risk I am willing to take because I love this world. I love these characters. I love this style. I just love everything about um, MHA. Uh, Especially like as far as the concepts go. I think that's actually. I'm trying to think of like what else. What else do I want to talk about with MHA Vigilantes before I wrap up? Uh, Might be a little too cameo heavy. I like Captain Celebrity and Ingenium do not feel like cameos. Like they feel like they are important characters to Koichi and to his development. But Racerhead, uh, I love both scenes he's in. I love that he's the one who fights Knuckle Duster because Knuckle Duster is a really good opponent for him because he doesn't have a quirk. So Aizawa isn't able to style on him the way he is a lot of other characters. Um, and then the penultimate episode where like Midnight and Present Mike are trying to like get him to come to the show, and he's like, "Man, I really wish a villain would come by so I'd have an excuse not to go." And then the villain, the disgusting eel villain, is rampaging, and he just smiles. I started cackling. That was hilarious. I love that. Um, I loved the ending with Knuckle Duster and his daughter. Because it's all my catchphrase like "Don't worry, I am here." Da 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 da. Or however his theme song goes, I can never remember it off the top of my head. Um, but Knuckle Dusters is always like, "Well, he's not here, but I am," or "Sorry that I'm the one who's here." Uh, very like defeat is a like self-deprecating a little bit with it. Uh, but then at the end, when he's with his daughter, who is broken, because he had to beat the parasite out of her. He's like, "Don't worry, I am here." And he says it like just so like the voice acting in this is so good. I did watch it in dub, and I don't care what people say. Like the whole dub for MHA as a whole is just so good. They did such a good job casting pretty much every single freaking character in both MHA and Vigilantes, and that I almost wonder like how much of it is Bones, because I feel like every time Bones makes a show, it has an excellent English dub. Same thing with Full Metal Alchemist, which I think the English dub is superior to the Japanese dub in that one. That is one where I was like, nope, I do not like the Japanese voice actors. Uh, Soul Eater also had a pretty decent dub. I'm trying to think what else Bones made. What else has Bones made? I know they made Mob Psycho, but I didn't watch that in dub, so I can't comment on it. Oh, wait, did they do Eureka 7 or was that Sunrise? So Eureka 7 has a great dub too. Let's look this up. Studio Bones. History, productions, anime, television series. What have they done in the past couple of years? Let's skip right to the end. Oh, they're doing Gachi Akuda. I did not realize that. Dang, big year for Bones then. MHA Season 8, Vigilantes, and Gachi Akuda. I haven't seen Gachi Akuda, but that's like the big hyped anime of this season. I'm probably not. I'm not gonna watch it because that's one where I talked about like how I don't like the way CGI is used in anime. Didn't watch Magical Girl and the Evil Lieutenant used to be arch enemies as a light novel last title. I didn't see Metallic Rouge. I heard mixed things about Bungo Stray Dogs. Case of Vanitas, Gate the Infinity. I remember when that came out. Dated Carolyn Tuesday. I thought that was Sunrise. I know that a lot of Studio Bones was basically founded by people who left Studio Sunrise. Um, Damn, I'm scrolling pretty far. Okay, so Snow White with Red Hair was the last time I watched a Studio Bones show in dub that wasn't MHA related. Uh, and I liked that too. That was Josh Grell and Felicia Angel as the two leads. Gee, Soul Eater Not was 11 years ago. Eureka 7 AO was only 13 years ago. I feel like that was older. I just feel like Eureka 7 AO came out when I was still in. I mean, I guess I was still in high school in 2012. Uh, that was the year I graduated. But yeah, I figured it was before Full Metal Alchemist. Soul Eater was 2008. I thought that was like 2006. Or on High School Host Club, no, another excellent dub. And I knew that was 2006. And I knew Eureka 7 was 2005. Full Metal Alchemist was 2003. Wolf's Rain was also 2003. Wolf's Rain would have been the first. Or no, Fullmetal Alchemist would have been the first. I saw that before Wolf's Rain. But I did watch Wolf's Rain. Probably around like 2004 is when I watched it. Anyway, so that's actually going to do it for today. Final thoughts on MHA Vigilantes. So it's good. Like, I don't have any serious complaints, so it's like an 8 out of 10. No serious complaints, but nothing that like really blew my mind either. It's just a lot of things that I like. And I'm looking forward to season 2. So thank you all for watching. Join me next week when I catch back up. I gotta catch back up with Witchwatch. Give my big verdict on. No, I will not be your lover unless whatever. Maybe I'll get better at some art and show you some better progress. And I'm also going to try to see if I can binge Call of the Night season 1. Because I did watch the first 3 episodes. I talked about this a while ago. Watched the first 3 episodes. Haven't finished it. And it is something that I want to get back into. And I also really need to get back into Detective Conan. I've been thinking about that today. Because it's been several months since I dabbled into Detective Conan. But yeah, thank you all for watching, and